Okay. So now, good evening, family. Good morning, family. A good afternoon, family. Greetings to you. Greetings to everybody, wherever you may be on this planet Earth. As I'm sending you greetings. Yeah. Once again, greetings, my brother Soyeni. We are back once again to talk about our beloved Africa, matters on issues concerning our beloved Mother Africa. Because whether we like it or not, the continent belongs to us, and the progress and the prosperity of the continent rely heavily on our shoulders as African people, or the people of African descent. So wherever or whatever we may try to do, we can never run away from the reality that a prosperous Africa means a prosperous black people, and a denigrated Africa means a denigrated African people, wherever you may find yourself. So, my brother Soyini, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming. Yeah, and then as you all know, family, I've been asking a lot of questions as to what is the contribution of we, the citizens of Africa, to the development of Africa. That is my concern. Because for a long time, we have been accusing the West. We have been accusing the Europeans. And then we have been blaming them for our predicaments as African people, which in no doubt is true. They have contributed massively to our underdeveloped as African people, or the continent of Africa. They have contributed a lot to the underdeveloped of Africa. That is fine. But the reality is that why did we allow them to contribute to the underdevelopment of Africa? You can share when you come in. Yeah, share it when you come in. We're not gonna talk much. Just as I said, it's our duty to point out the problems that is facing us as African people. It is our duty to point it out and then to fix it out. At the same time, we cannot continue to sit down and be blaming people and be expecting people to come and fix it out for us. Are we not men and women? Are we not capable of doing what other people are doing for themselves? Yes, we are, and then we must do it. Yeah. Musa Jordan, how are you doing, my brother? We must do it. We must do it just as other people are doing it for themselves. We cannot continue to sit down and complain and then accuse other people for our predicaments, whilst as a matter of fact, we ourselves are contributing massively to our own problems or to our own predicaments as African people. Why am I saying that? I could remember a friend of mine, or a European friend of mine, let me say an English guy, said to me that, my brother, why you always complain as to what my ancestors did to your ancestors? Because we always used to have conversation, and I always tell him they are the reason why we African people are like this. They are the reason Africa is like this. If they didn't come to Africa and enslave our ancestors, Africa would have been far ahead of them and all that kind of stuff. And then he said to me, "Oh, but why do you always complain about that? Because the truth is, he said to me, if my ancestors didn't come to Africa and enslave your ancestors, as you said, he said to me that you would have been in your country, and he was my supervisor, a very good friend of mine, but he was my supervisor at work. He said to me, if my ancestors his ancestors didn't come to Africa to enslave my ancestors, he said to me, he would have been in Africa and I would have been his supervisor. Think about that. So in a nutshell, he was trying to tell me that they did what they did to us for their own survival. You can share it, brothers, when you come in. As I said, we're not gonna spend much time. We're just gonna talk what is in our mind for the good of Africa, maybe for less than a half an hour, and then we done. Yeah, so you can share it when you come in. Yeah, so that guy said to me, and then since then I began to think and I began to ponder on what he said, and I realized that what he said is true. This world is survival. It's survival, and then if you leave yourself, other people will take advantage of you. I think I've been consistent with this message because I've been trying to tell our people that we are not a weaker race. And then we should prove it to the world that we are not a weaker race. We are not. So we cannot continue to sit down and blame other people for our predicaments, whilst as a matter of fact, we can organize ourselves and do what other people are doing for themselves. We can organize ourselves, and we must do that. Because for how long, for centuries, Arab people enslaved Africans, they demonized Africans, they did everything unhuman to African people. And after they left, or when they were about to leave, they handed us to the Europeans. And the Europeans did whatever they wanted to do to us. Slavery, colonization, for 400 years. And for the past 100 years, black people or African people, we have been complaining and then mourning and then talking about what they did to us. Have we learned from that? The question is, have we learned from what the Europeans did to us? My brother Ezanata, I greet you, my brother. You are such a warrior. I really appreciate your work, your hard work for Mother Africa. Thank you very much. So the thing is, for how long are we going to be sitting down and then expect or be complaining as to what other people have done to us? Because for 500 good years, the Europeans or the so-called white people, we all know what they did to us. So I don't need to even explain it or talk much about that. But today, they are still there and they still want to be there. But the reality is that they don't have the energy as they used to have 400, 300 years ago. Chinese are now coming in to take over. What have we learned from the mistakes, or what have we learned from the past as to what the Europeans have done to us? Have we learned something? And if we learn, how come we are allowing Chinese people to come to Africa to do the same thing that the Europeans and the Arabs did to us almost 1,000 or 2,000 years ago? Because the Arabs, the Arabs has done that for almost 2,000 years ago. The Arabs enslaved us. They did almost every inhuman thing to African people. The Arabs did it to us. And the Europeans came in, they did the same thing to us. Now, Chinese are coming in. And my question is, what lessons have we learned from the past? That what the Arabs have done to us and what the Europeans have done to us. Are we going to sit down and then allow the Chinese to do the same thing to us, just like the Arabs has done to us, just like the Europeans have done to us? Are we going to sit down and allow them? Should we? No. We don't have to. We must do something about that. And then the only thing we can do to solve this problem is for us as African people or black people all over the world to come together and get to work and stop complaining and stop mourning over what they did to us, because they didn't do it because they love us. They did it because of their own survival. And that is how this world gonna be, and that is how it's going to continue to be. You're not gonna expect somebody else to come to your house and point out the problems in your house and fix it for you. As a man or as a woman, you have to wake up and do it for your own self. And African, we have been sitting down for some reason and then mourning and then complaining as to what other people have done to us. They did it for their own survival. China is not coming to Africa because they love Africa. Me and you know that. China is coming to Africa because they know there is a loophole. There's an advantage that they can take to make China a great continent, and they are doing it for their own benefit. What are we doing as African people? Should we continue to sit down and then complain and then mourn and then cry over? Are we babies? Are we children? No, we are not. And all these things, I'm pointing it as to how we African people always betrayed the leaders who are standing for Africa. I know the great work my brother Ezenata is doing, but I can see the attacks. He is not telling Africans to give up Africa to other people. He is telling Africans to stand up and do for themselves what other people are doing for themselves. But you see our brothers and sisters attacking him. Anytime an African stood for his people, the same African people that he's standing for will betray him, we come after him, we attack him, and then we sell him to his enemies. And history will tell us. So my last video, I asked the question, if it were to be you, what will you do? If it were to be you, what will you do? If you were to be an African leader, what will you do? Will you stand for your people, which you know will end up betraying you, or you stand for the Western corporations? That is the question. That is the question. Because anytime an African leader stood for his people, we end up betraying him. It is only in Africa that those who betray the continent, who betray their nations, will be walking around free, enjoying the luxuries of Africa. A Ghanaian, a Nigerian can betray Ghana or can sell Ghana to the IMF for a penny. For money, as long as he can get his money, he don't care. He'll be working freely in his country, and then nobody bothered. It's about time we start to put penalty on the people who betrayed Africa. Until we do that, we're never going to get leaders who will stand for Africa. Because history tells us what we did to Kwame Nkrumah. History will tell us what we did to Patrice Lumumba. History tells us what we did to Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara stood for his people. He's changed the name of Burkina Faso, Upper Volta, to Burkina Faso. He changed his nation, the name of the nation. A nation of upright people. He did it for the benefit of his people. But what did we see? At the end of the day, they sold him out to France, his enemies. And as I said the last time, even recently, Gaddafi and then Laurent Gbagbo, we all see what we did to them. So anytime we are our own enemies, we always betrayed our own. We always betrayed Africa. And then we end up mourning and then crying. People never going to stop taking advantage of us if we don't stop betraying ourselves. If we don't stop selling ourselves to the world, nobody going to respect you if you don't respect yourself. And as I said, we are not as saints as we think. We are not as victims as we think. We compromise. We participated in every destruction of Africa. We, the citizens of Africa, participated or compromised in every destruction of Africa, from slavery to colonization to new colonialism to the coming of Chinese. We are part of it. So we should stop. It's about time we start to take some of the blame and stop blaming Europeans and other people for coming to Africa, because as I said, they are not coming for our good. They are coming for their own selves, and we have brain, and then we should use our brain to realize that they are coming for themselves. They are not coming for us. They are doing it for themselves. How on earth that we are not learning from history? As I said, how on earth we are not learning from history? Because we all know what the Arabs did to Africa. We all know what the Europeans did to Africa. So why are we today allowing China to come and do the same thing to us that the Europeans and the Arabs did to us? That's a question. Why are we allowing it? Don't we have brain? Do you think if it were to be Europeans, because the Europeans, they went through the same thing that we are going through today, but they organized themselves and they realized that they have to unite no matter what, especially when they are going out of Europe. They can have problems in Europe, but when they are going outside of Europe, they're united. But what about us? We are quick to sell our best to our enemies. Kwame Nkrumah was the best in his time, but we sold him out. Patrice Lumumba, same thing, we sold him out. Thomas Sankara, same thing, we sold him out. And then yet, we will sell those the best out and then come back and sit down and start mourning. Muhammad al-Gaddafi, we sold him out. And we didn't start it today. Even in the days of slavery, you see, sometimes we decide to play the innocent, but the reality is that what happened to us could never have happened to us if we didn't compromise, if we didn't participate. I am telling you, we are not that weak that Europeans could have come to Africa and just started enslaving us and just started taking our best. They couldn't have done it. If some of us did it, the hatred among ourselves is just too deep and too much, and then we must admit it and then say it as it is. We must. We must say it as it is. Because as I'm saying, even today, me and you who have the courage to tell our people the truth, to tell our people, you know what, let us unite, let us stand for each other, let us support each other. We become enemies of ourselves. Somebody will be attacking you purposely because you are telling him, you are my brother, you are my sister, we should come together and work for the benefit of Africa. You are not telling the person we should hate ourselves. You are just advising or telling the person that we should love ourselves as African people. But the person will see you as his enemy. So as I said, even our ancestors, they were not that innocent. And sometimes we need to blame them for what happened to us. Why am I saying that? Every now and then, normally we said that we must honor them, but not all of them. We always say it, but I am telling you, today, if we don't correct the mistakes of our ancestors, the next generation who will come after us will not honor us. We have to stand and earn the honor, and when we go, they will honor us just like the European ancestors did. Their ancestors stood and fight for Europe, and then today they are honoring their ancestors. Our ancestors give up. They mess up. Let us be honest. And if you mess up today, tomorrow, the next generation coming will not honor you. So it is not our fault that sometimes we are not able to honor those who came before us, because those who came before us mess up. Why? Because they compromised to the downfall of Africa. Let us face the reality and let us face the facts. And then until we do that and accept that we compromised and then we participated for the downfall of Africa, we are not going anywhere. We should stop playing as if like we are innocent, and then be playing that we're just gonna be crying and then mourning and then blaming other people, and all of a sudden they will feel sorry for us. Why are we looking for people to feel sorry for us? We are men and women. Nobody is feeling, this world is survival of the fittest. Nobody is feeling sorry for nobody. If we really want to see Africa develop, the development of Africa will come from the people of Africa. It is never going to come from no Chinese, and it's never going to come from no Europeans. Europeans have more problems than Africans we have. Chinese have more problems than Africans we have. So if the problems of Africa is going to be saved, and if Africa is going to be paradise, as we all know it is, it's going to come from me and you. It's going to come from the people of Africa. It's never going to come from no European. It's never going to come from no Chinese or no Arab. Because those people that we're expecting to get that freedom from them, they don't even like us. And they don't even want the good of Africa. They don't want it. But how can we ourselves get it when we are dragging each other's back and then fighting among ourselves and then trying to pull each other's down in the name of what? Religion, tribalism, and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I wonder when I see an African trying to make me feel that, or trying to tell me his tribe is superior than other tribe, or this tribe is superior to the other one. Where were you? If you are that superior, if you are that intelligent as a tribe or whatever you call yourself, where were you when the Europeans came to enslave us? They enslaved everybody, and today they are doing it to everybody. As long as you are black, as long as you have this melanin, wherever you go, you will never be respected. It doesn't matter whether you are Zulu or you are Hausa or you are Dagomba or you are Akan or you are Mandinka or you are whatever or you are Igbo. As long as you have this melanin, they don't even know your difference. So let us put aside the difference and get to work and then make Africa a better place for all the African people and the children of Africa. Let us stop it. Because it is not helping us. It didn't help our ancestors. It is not helping us. And if we don't correct the mistakes of our ancestors today, as I said, those who will come after us will never honor us. Our ancestors they weren't innocent. Don't get me wrong, not all of them. Some of them stood and fight. But those who compromise are the reason why we are suffering today. And then you can see, history will tell you, those who compromise, their children are continue from where they left. And today we are still suffering from that. Because almost 90% of the politicians of Africa, they came from royal families. And those royals were the ones who compromised with the Europeans to sell Africans to other people and to bring Africa to her knees. Those royals. Chip Chap. My brother, how are you? Those royals, those so-called royals, they compromise and sell our people to the Europeans and to the Arabs. And their children and great-grandchildren today are the politicians you see still selling Africa to the masters. So it is up to us to stand up and look into their face and tell them, you know what? What your ancestors did affected Africa, and then we will not sit down and continue to allow you to do the same thing as they did to us. But as I said, it is going to only come from us. It is only going to come from me and you. We must do it. We shouldn't allow it to continue, because it's so disgusting to see Chinese people coming to Africa and then taking advantage on taking our lands. I just read something about a Chinese beating a chief in Zimbabwe. That is why I'm doing this video. A Chinese man beating a chief in Zimbabwe. How the hell is going to happen? They are buying lands, they are owning lands. Can you do that in China? No, because of what? They have that pride. But we don't. How the hell is Chinese going to come to Africa? A little Chinese man going to come to Africa and disrespect a chief in Africa, and then Africans don't see any problem with that. But if I do the same thing, or if I open my mouth and say that we should unite and then we should come together as one to free Africa, and then you're going to come in and call me an enemy, or call me a sellout, or say to me I hate other people. I don't hate nobody, purposely because I asked you we should love each other. So majority of our problems is we is coming from us, we are our own enemies. And the earlier it's long overdue. The earlier we realize that, the better. We cannot continue to be putting the blames of Africa on other people when we know, as a matter of fact, we have contributed more. Because if we hadn't compromised, I am telling you, nobody couldn't have subdued Africa to where it is, to her knees. No, it couldn't have happened. Nobody. Because Africa is not the only place they went. They went to other places. But at least, if for nothing, wherever they go, before they will leave, the people will tell them, you know what, you come in, carry what you brought, especially your God. But what about us? We are not able to do that. We still give it up. And everything they ever brought, we so dumb enough to take it. And then after taking it, we end up blaming them for what they give to us. As I said, they are only doing it for their own survival. They are not coming to you because they love you. They are coming to you because they know there is an advantage, there is a loophole. And they're coming to take advantage of that. So it is up to you as a citizen of that continent to stand up and defend what God has given to you, or what Mother Nature has given to you. But we are not been able to do it for centuries, for whatever reason, I don't know. For whatever reason, our ancestors couldn't do it. Our fathers couldn't do it. And then we are not doing it. We talk and talk and talk. But when it comes to the practicals, we are not doing it. Because we still sit down and allow other people. We are not learning from history, as I said. Because if we were learning from history what the Arabs did to us, we wouldn't have allowed the Europeans to do the same thing to us. And then what the Europeans did to us, today Chinese are even coming and they will be even worse. And yet, we are allowing them to come in. And then all that we do is complain, talk. But when it comes to action, we are not taking no action. We have to stand and realize that Africa, the future of Africa, is in our own hands. It's in the hands of African people. It is in the hands of the children of Africa. And nobody is not going to come from nowhere to do it for us. We're going to do it for ourselves. Nobody not going to come from nowhere to do it for us. If Africa going to be the paradise as we all dream of, or as we all know her to be, it is going to come from the children of Africa. If we're going to sit down and wait for Europeans to do it for us, I am telling you, the problems of Europe is bigger than Africa. And if you're going to sit down and expect Chinese to come, there are more poor people in China than there are in Africa. So how the hell are we going to sit down and then expect Chinese to come and solve our problems for us? Are we not men and women? We are men and women who are capable. There are more educated Nigerians who can look after the administration of the whole of African continent. Yes, but they are not able to even take care of Nigeria. Just Nigeria alone have more educated people who can take the administration and the administrative duties or works of Africa. And yet, they are not being able to do it for Nigeria. Why? Why? We have more resources. These are things that we've been talking about, we've been repeating it. We always talk about this thing. This is not new. Every African knows that Africa has more resources than any continent on this planet Earth. So how come the resources of Africa is not benefiting the children of Africa? And yet we are blaming other people. It is time we stop blaming them, because they are coming in to take your resources because you don't have no use for the resources. Try making good use of your resources. Try creating companies for your people, employing your people. And then your people will stop dying unnecessary death in other people's country. Your people will be respected. Your people will have honor and dignity. And the problems, as I said, of Africa will be solved by the African minds. Because for far too long, we've been waiting to see other people come and give us aid to solve our problems. But the more aid they bring, the more debt or poor Africa become. So where is the aid then? Where is our engineers, as I said? Where is our professionals? They're all up there, outside there. Why? Do we have like patriotism in us? Do we really love the continent? Do we really want to see the continent move forward? Do we really want to see the continent become what we preach? If we do, why are we not going to help? Yes. And then you cannot even blame some of us, because even when you go home, the treatment you're gonna get, because recently we saw what happened in Ghana. The Auditor General. We all saw what this is, a man who is ready to save his nation. He is ready to do everything for his nation. But we also what happened. Why should it happen like that? People who are ready to help build their nations are not given the opportunities. Why? Because somebody is sitting down somewhere and telling them not to give them the opportunity? Or what? So as I said, Africa, the solution of African problems will come from African people. It is never our security situations, problems will be solved by African intelligence service. We cannot sit down and then expect people who are creating insecurity in Africa to come to Africa and solve the problem. NATO and other powers, they are creating the insecurity problems in Africa, and then we sit down and expect them to come and solve the problems for us. It's like sometimes it's mind-boggling. You can't even understand as to why we think that, or as to why we are not learning from history. Because if these people really meant well for Africa, I am telling you, Africa would have been somewhere. Even if you go to Africa and then open a company, yeah, you have cheap labor. Why are they taking the companies, or why are they taking the companies to China? If they really love you. So why will you continue to sit down and be thinking that one day they will just feel sorry for you and they will come to you and then say, no, it is never going to happen. Nobody's not going to feel pity for you and then you get freedom. Nah. It is you who is going to stand up as men and women and take it. You're going to take it. It's never going to be given to you, because if they give it to you today, they will take it tomorrow. But if you take it, it is yours. You will own it forever. And then it is about time we as African people to take our freedom and own it, so that it will be ours forever. It will be the freedom of Africa forever. But if you sit down and think that Europeans, Arabs, Indians, whoever, one day going to sit down and just feel that, you know what, we're so sorry for these people, these melanated people, we're sorry for them. You know what, it is about time we give you your freedom. Now, economic freedom, take it on the silver platter. It is never going to be like that. Because the day that they will give you your freedom is the day that they will fall. Your ignorance is what they are benefiting from. The day that they give you your freedom, that is the same day that they will fall. So they will never give it to you until you stand up and take it and own it forever. Just as they fooled us in this early 50s. We're telling us freedom, 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 independent, independent, independent. Are we free? No. Because if we were free, how come our people are dying in the Mediterranean every day? How come our people are dying in Malaysia, in Asia? How come we are the most disrespected people on this planet Earth? How come we walk everywhere with no dignity? It is because we are not free. Because we were thinking that, or they were telling us that they give to us. And then nobody cannot give you your freedom. You take it and then own it forever. But if you sit down and allow, and then he said he gave it to you, he will take it tomorrow. It is time for we African people to realize that, and as I said, and learn from history. And stop betraying those who stood for the mother continent. We have betrayed ourselves for far too long. people who are ready to sacrifice for Africa, we always give them out to their enemies. Just recently, Dr. Arikana. Dr. Arikana, see what the lady were doing to Mother Africa. See what the effort she was putting for the continent of Africa. But what did we see? Because she was speaking the hard truth about what France have been doing to the continent of Africa, especially to the French-speaking African continent, to Francophone countries. What France have been doing to the Francophone countries. She was speaking against that, and then she was revealing the secret, the truth about what they have been doing to us. And then see what happened. The chair of AU terminate her contract purposely because he's coming from a French country, or purposely because France has directed him to terminate his contract. So even the so-called African Union that we're talking about, we have no power over anything because it's been sponsored. The African Union is being sponsored by foreign countries. And then when Gaddafi came out with the idea and said that why should African Union be sponsored by other people? When as a matter of fact, we have the most resources on earth, we should come out with ideas as to how we're going to be doing things for ourselves, by ourselves. They came for him. And what did we do? We betrayed him. And today, what did we see? Today, what did we see? Nothing. Africa became what? A laughingstock for the rest of the world. And it's going to continue like that. And as I said, it's going to continue like that until we learn from history and realize that betraying our leaders or those who stood for Africa, if we don't stop doing that, then it will continue. We'll continue to have puppet leaders. We'll continue to have leaders who doesn't even care about the continent of Africa, because you cannot even blame them. Because the truth is, oh, my battery. Because the truth is, you have two choice. Either you stand for your people, and then they betrayed you, or you stand for the Western powers, and then they will keep you in power for so long. So what will you do if it were to be you? If it were to be me, what will I do? Because I will sit back and watch into history. And I'll tell myself that, you know what, when Patrice Lumumba stood for Congo, DRC, this is what happened to him and his family. And then when Mobutu Sese Seko said, I will give back DRC to the Western world, he was kept in power for far too long. Same thing with Thomas Sankara when he said, you know what, I want to work for the interests of my people. I want to work for the interests of Africa. What happened to him? When his enemies came to him, we handled him. We ourselves handled him to his enemies. And then what happened to him? They killed him. And we all know the history. And it has continued. It has been repeating itself. And yet we continue to blame other people. How the hell are you going to tell me? Or how do you think? Or how are you thinking that somebody who doesn't look like me and you will come to you and then give you gun to kill me, so that he will take your resources and then you take the gun and truly come and kill me? That person doesn't look like me and you. You don't own no guns. There is not a single country in Africa that manufacture guns, I think, apart from South Africa, and that is white people who are doing it. No single country in Africa. And yet, we have guns killing each other. We have almost 19 conflict zones in Africa. 17 French countries. Is France not behind this? What's their interest on that? Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, where are they getting their guns from? Who is sponsoring them? These are questions that we should be asking ourselves and stop blaming the white people. Because the white people, they're never going to stop that. They will continue, or the Europeans, they will never stop that. They will continue to do that as long as Europe is concerned, because that is where they are getting their power from. That is what is making them who they are. So until we realize that and say what, enough is enough, it's about time we put an end to this. And the only way we put an end to that is to trust each other, to build each other up, and then to realize that our difference, we have no differences. Because there's only one thing that is uniting us, and that is our melanin. We are African people, irrespective of our different languages, irrespective of our culture. We don't even have cultural differences, because if you trace all these so-called cultural differences, you come to realize that it's all one. It's all same. So we are not even different. So why are we allowing other people to manipulate us and tell us we are different, and then take advantage of our so-called differences that does not even exist for their own benefit? It's about time we make a stop to an end to that. We all know what is going on in Southern Cameroon. Why is it so? Why is it so? Because Paul Biya know that that's the only way France or the Western powers will keep him in power. So he's doing what they want. He's exactly doing what they want. It's about time we come to the realization of a lot of stuff. For the truth is that we all know our institutions are not working. But we are greater than our problems as African people. It's about, we have to realize it. Yes, we have problems, but we are greater than our problems. Africans, our minds, we are greater than our problems. So it's about time we realize it and then start to look for solutions immediately. That we realize that we are greater than our problems, then the solutions will start coming. So as I said, I wasn't really ready, or I wasn't really coming to make this video, but I had to. And all that I can say is, we, the new generation of African people, we have the chance, never before given to any generation of Africans, to make Africa a better place for all African people. It is about time we join hands, put aside our tribal differences. After all, tribalism didn't help our ancestors, and it is not going to help us, and it will not help our children. The only thing it will do to us is other people will come in and use our differences to their advantage and take advantage, and then continue to enslave us mentally, spiritually, and physically. So let us put all those stuff aside and can realize that African people, we are one people. And then as long as immediately we realize that, and then also realize that we as African people, we are greater than our challenges, we are greater than our problems. When we realize that, if we are able to realize that, then the problems will be gone. We began to see the solutions to our problems, and we began to solve it. Together, we will make Africa a better place for all her children, both at home and in the diaspora. Thank you very much for coming. I greet you, Chip Chap, my brother Soyene, Enoch Mensah. Thank you for coming. My beloved Rich, thank you for coming. And then Anthony, brother Koku, brother Ezenata, you are doing a great job. Busumba, I cannot talk much. I know what you're doing for the mother continent. And then may the ancestors continue to give us the strength and then the courage to speak out to power. And one day, Africa will be or take her rightful place in the global stage. Thank you very much, everybody, and may the ancestors bless us all. Thank you.